Very good.
This is the Bible worldview of history, and this is what is essentially the end. So you can get that chart on his website if you'd like. And we're going to be in slide number 437. What do you see, Donald?
I see the sky.
You see the sky.
Deep in the sky.
Deep in the, yeah. Well, it's interesting that these galaxies and many planets, and I'll show you here in a second, many galaxies spin backwards.
Didn't know that.
So here's how it goes. You got this part rotating that way, but this one, he goes the other way.
Okay.
Clockwise, and counterclockwise.
Well, this says there shouldn't be galaxies out there at all. And even if there are galaxies, the problem of explaining the existence of galaxies has proved to be one of the thorniest in cosmology. I think there's a lot of things that are complicated.
Galaxies must have condensed out of the gases expanding from the Big Bang. So if there was a Big Bang, it would be utterly chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, everything has a little bit of order to it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why I think that God did that?
Why did you do that?
To make the evolution theory look stupid.
NASA's claim in 1995 that these pictures showed hundreds to thousands of stars forming was based on the speculative egg star formation theory. It has recently been tested independently with 2 infrared detectors that can see inside the dusty pillows. And technology gets better and better, doesn't it?
And better and better and better. Don, do you think that they really put someone on the moon?
I do.
You do?
I don't have a clue why I think that.
So, Don, what did they find?
Few stars were there, and 85% of the pillows had too little dust and gas to support star formation. The new findings also highlight how much astronomers still have to learn about star formation.
So there are no star nurseries. All of that is just
Stuff in outer space.
stuff in outer space. They love having that in their textbooks.
They've got a lot of pictures of stuff in outer space.
Oh yeah. Proof of evolution. Proof of evolution right there. Supernova rings. This is what you would call a supernova. A supernova is a star, the evolutionists love to say this, but this is a star forming. You might have a nova or a supernova, but all that is could be a star getting brighter. A comet hitting a planet, like Mars or something. They see it on the Hubble telescope.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they see is nova or supernova.
Mm-hmm. That's what they call them.
But that's not.
I don't think they actually know 100% what they are.
That's
They're
not
just naming.
That's not a star forming though. Evidence of a young universe. The supernova. This is the number of the observable universe. The world is billions of years old. All of this stuff. There should be a lot of supernovas or star formations.
Astronomers have observed that about every 30 years a star dies and explodes into a supernova.
If the universe indeed is billions of years old, how come there are less than 300 supernova or dead stars? There should be several hundred millions of them. Are they wrong, or is the evolution theory wrong?
Evolution theory is wrong.
Yep. Some try to say they have proof of stars forming. They point to spots getting brighter. Obviously, this could just be dust clearing, like we mentioned before. You know, it doesn't prove that a star is forming. Textbooks say red giant stars evolve into a white dwarf stars over billions of years. So, Don, the Egyptian
hieroglyphics.
Yep. Go ahead, Don.
From 2000 BC
Go ahead.
describes Sirius as red. Cyril in 50 BC stated Sirius was red. Seneca describes Sirius as being redder than Mars. Ptolemy listed Sirius as one of the 6 red stars in 150 AD. Today it is a white star binary. Textbooks say it should take billions of years for this to happen.
Jupiter is cooling off. What does that mean, Don?
It used to be hotter. I don't know how they know that.
Well, Jupiter's moons, Ganymede, has a strong magnetic field. Magnetic fields are generated by the liquid motion of molten metal inside the body. Yet, Jupiter's moon should have cooled solid, completely cold, billions of years ago. And all this is just proof, you know, that the Earth cannot be millions or billions of years. Saturn's rings, which we'll get much more into this later, but I think the rings are a result of the flood. Saturn's rings are unstable and cannot be billions of years old. Saturn gives off infrared energy.
Didn't know that.
The moon. Did you know that we are losing the moon very slowly?
Knew that.
Over billions of years.
Knew that. It moves further away from the Earth every year.
Yep. So what does that mean, Don, about the moon?
It means it's getting out of here.
Well, it used to be closer.
And it's running.
Yep. It's running away.
If it's been running for millions of years, it would be gone by now.
That's right. We wouldn't have a moon. Let's talk about that. That intrigues me.
That's fascinating.
That intrigues me. What would happen to Earth?
A lot of things would happen to Earth. You wouldn't have seasons.
You wouldn't have seasons.
The waves,
the tide would be,
tide would be way out of whack.
Yep. So the moon was obviously closer. But yeah, the moon's orbit is indeed
circular path around the Earth.
Yep, is indeed getting larger at the rate of 3.8 centimeters per year. Losing the moon slowly over time. 1,000 years ago was 125 feet closer. 1 million years ago, it was 28 miles closer. 10 billion, 284 miles closer. And so on and so forth. The inverse square law, the force of attraction between two objects, 1.4 billion years ago, the moon,
In contact.
yeah, we could probably jump on the moon. It'd be like a floating island. So the evolution of lunar semi-major axis presents the well-known timescale problem. The lunar orbit collapses only a little over 1 billion years ago. So you can see it's all there. The fact alone puts the age of the Earth moon system less than 1.2 billion years max. That explains what happened to the tall dinosaurs. They got mooned.
Moon to death.
So the origin of the moon. The origin of the moon is still unsolved. The best explanation is the moon was created to present orbit about 6,000 years ago. That's scientifically accurate. Comets have a tail because of the material being blown off the comet, which
Okay.
short period comets are losing material and have a life expectancy less than 10,000 years.
Okay.
So if the Earth is billions
So
of
they're
years,
gonna just dissipate
yep.
in
Well,
10,000 years. It's all gonna blow away.
if the Earth is billions of years old, why do we still have comets? If your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just interesting ways to look at how space can prove the age of the Earth.
And the Bible says it was all put there for signs and wonders.
Once so deflected into a short period comets, these comets must have comparatively short lifetimes. So again, where are our comets? If this theory is true, we shouldn't have comets at all. If you're taking a lot of flack, you must be over the target. With all the flack you get on the internet, you must be right on the target against evolution. In 1950, based on the study of the orbits of several long-period comets, the Dutch astronomer Jan Oort proposed, he hoped, he wished, he prayed, that a great spherical shell of comets existed at the remote frontiers of the solar system. By the way, Oort never saw the Oort cloud. To replace the ones that burn out. So, go ahead, Don.
Better statistics in more recent years have supported the existence of the Oort cloud and put it in a distance of 50,000 AUs, astronomical units. 93 billion miles equals 1 astronomical unit equals 8 light minutes.
If we could have a shuttle that could go in like a light minute, me and you get in that space shuttle, we'd be at the sun in 8 minutes.
Pluto is 93 astronomical units from the sun and cannot be seen without a powerful telescope. Seeing a comet at 50,000 astronomical units is impossible.
So, no one has ever seen the Oort cloud. Oort never saw the Oort cloud. Oort proposed a cloud, which it was just his theory, of comets surrounding the solar system based on mathematical errors. This is not the scale. 10 to the second power should be 10 squared. You take away time, like millions and billions of years, the evolution theory looks very silly.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of time to make their theory look somewhat presentable. Don, suppose I told you that watermelons are blue on the inside until you cut it and it's red. Prove I'm wrong.
My blood veins is blue. When I cut them, it's red.
There you go. This is called shifting the burden of proof. But yeah, you're right. Madison said, sorry fellas, if you want to use this common argument, it is up to you to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the Oort cloud and other sources do not exist.
We can't prove they don't any more than they can prove they do.
Yeah. But the Bible says in Psalms 91, the heavens declare the glory of God. The evolutionary theory, the sun... Go ahead.
Evolution theory has the sun and stars evolving before the earth. God said he created earth before sun and stars.
Yep.
Bible match evolution.
The duel between the two. The Bible says earth before sun. Mm-hmm. Evolution says sun before the earth. Ocean before land. The Bible says land before the ocean. Evolution says. Because you can take a Bible, everything. You can disprove Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormonism, Catholics
Depending on which Bible you use.
use the King James.
Huh.
You know,
But that one you can.
right? Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a lot of Bibles out there.
Oh, yeah.
All Bibles are not created equal.
In Genesis 1:21, God created the whales on the fifth day. Genesis 1:24, God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing." So you got, did man bring death into the world, or did death bring man into the world? Let's talk about that, because that you got Christians that believe that in the evolution theory that we all came from a monkey,
An amoeba
an amoeba.
rolled up out of the ocean
Yep.
and started evolving.
And we're getting bigger, better, faster, and stronger, and smarter. And one day, Don,
Mhm.
we will be traveling the universe like Star Trek.
We all gonna be $10 million men.
Yep. The Bible says
Man brought death into the world.
God created man.
Mhm.
Evolution says man created God.
And there are still people in the world today who try to create God in their own image.
Yep. Couldn't God have used evolution to create?
So,
The God that would use evolution is cruel, wasteful, and retarded. Definitely not the God of the Bible. It is so cool to just go out and consider the heavens. While I was musing, did you know if you put an A in front of a word, it means the opposite?
didn't know that.
I'll show you. I muse. The word muse means to think. If you put an A in front of a theist, it is a person that does not believe in God.
Okay.
To muse means to not think. You have amusement parks
Mm-hmm.
that you can go and pay
Mm-hmm.
to not think.
Mm-hmm.
When I consider the heavens, Psalm 8:4, what this man, that thou art mindful of him. It has been estimated that there are enough stars for every individual on earth to own 11 trillion of them.
Mm-hmm. Heard that.
Did you know that the sun is shrinking, Don?
Mm-hmm.
We're losing the moon and now we're losing the sun.
Yep.
Well, what the heck?
What on earth is going on?
What on earth is going on, Donald? The age of the sun, energy, thermonuclear fusion, the core of the sun should alter the sun with the age. So, it is now only 40% brighter than it should be. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Earth's average temperature is 59 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 Celsius. If the Earth is indeed billions of years old, why do we have a sun? It should be diminished, and Earth wouldn't be habitable. Job 12:8 says, "Speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee." Magnets lose their strength with time,
Mm-hmm.
and the Earth's magnetic.
Magnetic force is not weakened.
Yep.
It has declined 10% in the last 150 years,
Yep.
and 40% in the last 1,000 years. The Earth's magnetic field is getting weaker.
Yep. It cannot be billions of years old. 25,000 max. Carbon dating.
Dated.
Do you know
What a
anything about
joke.
carbon
I
dating?
know it's a joke.
It's a joke. Yep.
Most of the time when you send stuff to have it carbon dated, they ask you what time period you think it's from.
National Geographic is full of that. Earth's magnetic field is getting weaker. That's a secular place, you know. DailyMail.com.
10 times faster.
Yep. Textbooks will say that there are magnetic reversals in our Earth. There are no magnetic reversals on the ocean floor. Did you know that Pangea theory in school about the Pangea theory like it's a great theory? Well, what they don't tell your kids is Africa has been shrunk 35 to 40%. Mexico and Africa are gone. Where's Mexico? Where's Panama? Where's Costa Rica? Africa is nearly twice as big as South America.
Knew that.
And all this is in textbooks. If you take water out of the oceans, there is dirt underneath. The earth has a solid the earth has a solid crust. It is not hollow under the oceans. The earth is spinning 1,000 miles at the equator. However, the change in the Earth's rotational period was first measured using eclipses, of all things. The Earth's rotation was slowing down, but regular clocks are using days as a measure. Bible times, I have a personal theory on when everything starts, but with the end.
They have a problem with their mathematics when they try to date the Earth anyway.
Yeah, that is true.
Because there's several events in the Bible that they can't prove.
Right.
Like the sun stood still.
The sun stood still.
The calculations I've been told that they use do not equal out because there's a problem.
Yep. The Earth's rotation is slowing down once again. And have you ever heard of a leap second? You know, you've had a leap year. This is a leap second. A leap second is a 1 second adjustment that is occasionally elapsed. So,
it's applied to what? Coordinated universal time.
Yep.
In order to keep its time of day close to the mean solar time of UT1 without such a correction, time reckoned by Earth's rotation drifts away. Because of irregularities in the Earth's rate of rotation, since this system of correction was implemented in 1972, 27 lapse seconds have been inserted. The most recent on December 31st, 2016 at 23:56.60 UTC.
So the spin of the Earth causes the control Coriolis effect wind patterns. Any weatherman would say, you know, that the wind is created by that, which is interesting. That explains what happened to the dinosaurs 4.5 billion years ago.
They spun off out into space.
They spun off out into space. The Sahara Desert
So I wonder where we get our oil and gas from.
Yeah. The Sahara Desert has a prevailing wind pattern. This causes the desert to grow. So that means that the desert used to not be a desert. In the Garden of Eden conditions, you know. About 4,000 years old is the Gobi Desert, or any desert. So you got the creationist timeline 6,000 years ago, and 4,400 years ago there was a big flood that flooded everything.
And science has proven that the Earth has been covered with water twice.
Yep.
The Bible said that.
Very, very interesting. Could it be, Don, that this is right?
I believe it's right.
Could it be?
Could be.
Well, I'll be darned.
Rock weighs about 175 CU feet. 5,000 feet down, the pressure is 6,000 PSI from the rock.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's that got to do with oil spurting up out of the ground?
Well, let's find out. The rock can only hold that excess pressure for 10,000 years or less.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
Oil and gas, here we go.
Yep. Oil and gas are from organisms that once lived in the sea, they say.
Okay.
Changed by heat and pressure into oil. Also, converting organic waste to oil being made in 20 minutes. Oil from sewage, sludge in 30 minutes. Something that they say takes millions and billions of years, they can get it in 20 to 30 minutes. Rock weighs about 175 cubic feet. Oil wells can have up to 20,000 pounds per square inch. The rock can only hold that excess pressure for 10,000 years or less. People use waste to make oil in 20 minutes and sewage sludge in 30 minutes. It doesn't take millions and billions of years, guys. They can make oil out of turkey guts. So, we duplicated what Mother Nature does, but, however, what Mother Nature took millions of years to do took only 30 minutes. So the slaughterhouse, waste, and sewage, old tires, mixed plastics, and make high quality oil in very, very, very short time. 30 minutes. So, gas is pretty much oil. This is the squish.
Refined oil.
And they say that dinosaurs turned into oil. They mellowed out 80 billion years ago.
Okay.
I have a theory, Don.
All right, what's your theory?
You want to hear my theory?
Yeah.
No way. You don't really.
I don't hear your theory.
6,000 years ago, there was a creation. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood.
And all the dinosaurs died.
And all the dinosaurs died. You can say, bye-bye, Grandpa.
Yep.
So whenever you're pumping gas, you can say...
Pumping dinosaur.
You can say, bye, guys. Bye, buddies. So, Denver, Colorado, oil spillways. Have you heard of oil spillways? We'll talk about that later.
I've heard of it. I don't know a lot about it.
So, in Denver, Colorado, Kent Hovind and they invited him to their work, and they work in a very, very cold place. An ice coring machine took ice core samples and studied them. This right here, summer, winter, summer, winter. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? These little stripes, summer, winter, summer, winter. So, they're saying that this took millions and billions of years.
Okay.
Do you know where this is going? Now keep in mind, summer or winter.
Yeah, summer, winter, summer, winter, summer, winter.
So all of this is leading up to, their point is millions and billions of years. That these are annual layers. But it's not annual layers for say, it's hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Well, we can have hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold in one day in Alabama. Now this is interesting. I think you might like this stuff. There was a plane that landed in Greenland in 1942. Well, some people decided to dig it out, right? What they found was that it was totally functional, but there were ice rings the next year or something like that. So all of this scientific evidence, again, the plane that was stuck for a year or two, still functional. They drove it plenty of times. So the planes that we're talking about were 260 feet below the surface. That's about 5.5 per year. Note, Don, the planes do not sink in the ice due to pressure on the ice. What happened was plane crashes or plane lands.
Mm-hmm.
Guy gets out of the plane, abandons plane. In that area, snow. Over time, guess what? That plane is completely buried by snow and very hard ice.
Okay.
In April, he visited Bob Cardin at the museum in Middleborough, Kentucky, and he helped dig out and restore the plane, which I thought was very interesting. And he told him, Kent, that there were many hundreds of layers of ice above the plains when they dug them out. The article still calls these ice core lines annual layers when they are from warm and cold spells. Ignorance can be fixed, but stupid is forever. They try to say, this is the Cretaceous, Triassic, Permian, and all that, but, it's all just warm, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold. 68 degrees this morning and 80 at 10. Today, presently, again, here's some layers. But this is all proof that ants are related to pine trees. And this is just so interesting. People say that you can have that things petrify over dinosaur bones. Well, it's interesting that for something to petrify, we'll see here in just a minute, that you can petrify acorns in 1 year. Turn them to solid stone. This is a petrified wood in Arizona. A ichthyosaur giving birth that took slowly over millions of years. And wouldn't that be something if giving birth took millions of years? A cowboy got his leg stuck and couldn't get it out. So guess what happened to his leg?
Cut it off.
It got petrified. This is, by the way, awesome to see in his museum, in Kent's museum.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see it and to hold the pickle, petrified pickle, just a year. Acorns, Ripley's, believe it or not,
Petrified peanuts.
museum. This is in Repton, Alabama, when we went a couple weeks ago. Got to saw the old petrified teddy bear. These things called deltas, right? The water in New Orleans and the Bering Strait, in the Gulf of Mexico, the Mississippi Cone, it took 3,000 years to accumulate mud in that delta. Grand Canyon is nothing but a washed out spillway due to the flood.
I think so.
I have a theory, Don.
All right.
You want to hear it?
Yes.
No way. 6,000 years ago, there was a creation. God made a perfect world. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood. And while these fellas were working in their oil field, they were drilling through a tree over 60 feet, almost 14,000 feet below the surface. And these are all people that Dr. Hovind has talked to and interviewed. This tree is fascinating to see. He gave us a magnifying glass, and you can barely see and count all of the rings. He said it took about 4 or 5 hours to count all of them to get his age. However, the tree layers, the rings, sometimes they're not accurate, but he knows how to date them just right. So the tree ring dating is not exact science. Overlapping tree ring dating has many serious problems. So, you can't really define all of that with the age, but there are ways to show 4,000 year old wood. That's pretty close to 4,400, right when the flood would have taken place.
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory, Don.
What's your theory, David?
There was a creation about 6,000 years ago. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood that
Caused all that.
caused a lot of problems. Coral reefs. You ever been at a coral reef scuba diving?
Mm.
There are a whole bunch of coral reefs around the world,
Mm-hmm.
That might be a result.
So I've heard.
Yeah. That might be a result of something. And just, there is nothing like snorkeling in the Caymans.
Okay.
Or like whenever you ever been to Mexico, Cozumel? You ever been on a cruise? But that water is so blue, it would just blow your mind. In Cozumel, whenever you get off the ship, it looks like you could just go and touch the bottom with your hand. It is 200 or 300 feet deep.
Clear.
Now, whenever you snorkel there, in Panama City, you get those little clear fish that Marquez caught that one time. You won't see no octopus or anything if you're lucky.
No sharks either.
In Mexico, Cozumel, it's like a whole new world. You can actually watch the fish working, just going about their day.
Going about their daily job.
It is so cool. Barrier reefs are less than 4,000 years old. All of this stuff is just very, very fascinating. Figure 17-5, the rocky ledges above Niagara Falls has been eroding for nearly 9,000 years. I forgot it blew it up there. But you see, when the flood happened, and we'll get into this on video 7, or part 2 of the Woe series, that when the Fountains of the Great Deep took place, in some areas there was ice. Well, woolly mammoths, they're out chopping on their tropical flowers, and one says to his buddies, well, George, this is peculiar weather we're having. What is this? And, it's snowing. Mammoths are found in the upright position. That is, again, fascinating. Niagara Falls. Crest lines showing recession of Hardcore Falls in 1764. 865 feet in 185 years.
What was it, 4.7 a year?
Yep. Studied Niagara Falls. It is fascinating on what it's doing.
Mm-hmm. It's receding.
It is receding.
Mm-hmm. If it keeps going, it'd be Canadian instead of American.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But it's all just a fascinating study. A gorge, about 7.5 miles long, runs just below Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that mean? You see, it's eroding a small canyon, a small delta, right there. So if the Earth is millions of years old, why has Niagara Falls eroded less than 8 miles? I have a theory, Don.
What's the theory, David?
Well, 6,000 years ago, there was a creation. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood.
I think you got a pretty good theory going on there.
And Niagara Falls was a result of the flood.
Yeah.
And we're going to end that one right there. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will do the same thing next week.
Absolutely.
We'll figure out a
Every
little bit
week
more.
for the next 30 million years, the way we're going.
That's right. Yep. We'll see you next time. Bye.